All right, we're back with Senator Tim Scott from the great state of South Carolina. Hey, there he is. Good to have you on, sir. You're in South Carolina, or you're right next door in Georgia. Your thoughts on tonight?
Yes, sir. Well, listen, it was the most dominant performance I've ever seen in a debate. Joe Biden was terrible, and at the same time, Donald Trump was the most remarkable presidential person I've seen on a debate stage ever. It was remarkable to see the contrast on the issues, substance, and on the style. Joe Biden was frozen, lost like a goose in a rainstorm. And Donald Trump was dominant. Dominant on the issues, dominant on the border, dominant on the economy, and Joe Biden had nothing. It was like watching the Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. We got Joe Pinion here. Go ahead, Joe.
Senator, always good to see you, my friend. Look, the reality is, obviously, Joe Biden parroting all of the, what I call soft bigotry of low expectation talking points when it comes to the African-American community, trying to suggest that he has done more for black people than what we saw under President Trump. Talk to us a little bit about your perspective. Obviously, the first step happened with President Trump signing that historic bill. The second step, AKA the Justice Act, you brought forth. Democrats denied it through and through. You have our friend in Kentucky, the junior senator, who wanted to pass the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act. You couldn't find a single Democrat, absent of Cory Booker in New Jersey, who wanted to have anything to do with it. So talk to us about that moment where President Trump effectively forced to deal with this man trying to pretend that he is some type of great white hope for the black community.
Yeah. Well, the black community does not need a great white hope, but it certainly cannot be Joe Biden. But what we do need is a president who understands that the American way works for black folks, for Hispanics, for Asians, frankly, for Native Americans. It works for all Americans, white folks too. What we saw under Donald Trump was the lowest unemployment rates for African Americans in the history of the country. What we saw under Donald Trump was HBCUs receiving more funding than at any other time and under any other president in the history of the country. What we saw under Donald Trump was that same funding being made permanent. Under Donald Trump, we saw the creation of my opportunity zones that has brought more than $70 billion committed to the poorest communities, oftentimes minority communities, the greatest anti-poverty program directed to the private sector in the history of our country. Right. Under Donald Trump, we saw more resources for sickle cell anemia. It's not even close. Best president for African Americans and the country, Donald Trump.
Senator Scott, so there's talk about a second debate. What do you think?
Listen, if there was a second debate, it would be another disaster for Joe Biden. I can't imagine anybody putting him back on the debate stage against Donald Trump. It would just be terrible.
That would be malpractice of a campaign
Very
manager,
rough
I think.
Very rough night.
Senator, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Good to see you as always.